Hello, welcome back here today. It's round 23 of FMSL. I'm going to quickly post the next event into the Discord server. So do bear with me for a minute. Now I close over my window and close my door as we are about to enter the penultimate race of this season. As yeah, let's now put it in. It is now in the server, so yeah, let's go. Here is your starting grid. Here today in Qatar, Valtteri Bottas lines up on pole with Lando Norris starting alongside. Théo Pourchaire lines up in P3 with Max Verstappen down in 4th. Oscar Piastri lines up 5th with Charles Leclerc in 6th. Carlos Sainz starts 7th here today. Last time he started there, he won. Sergio Perez lines up P8, Alonso P9, and Russell continuing his bad form, which led to Norris winning the title last time out, in P10, as Hamilton lines up P11, Franco Colapinto P12, Daniel Ricciardo 13th, Liam Lawson 14th, Isaac Hadjar 15th, Oliver Bearman down in 16th with Gasly 17th, and his teammate just behind in 18th, Andrea Kimi Antonelli 19th, and then Alexander Albon starting from the pit lane here today. Anyways, let's get into it.
Final checks are being carried out by the teams, and it won't be long until we're all set here in Lusail. It's lights out, and away we go.
As away we go, we now pause and retire my two cars, which is a very simple job, to say the least. As now it's away we go. Valtteri Bottas seems to have got a better start than Lando Norris into turn 1, as Pourchaire trying to fight round the outside of his teammate to the inside for turn 2. Is Pourchaire going to promote himself into second? No, he won't, as Valtteri Bottas, great opportunity to put away now. What we've seen for most of this save so far is whoever lines up on pole does end up pulling away for the first lap, but then by lap 3 they are out of the lead, and it would have rotated to someone new by that time. But currently Valtteri Bottas starting in good form, as Carlos Sainz has made a place up into P6. That Williams doing everything for his team now, as they cannot guarantee he is staying. Currently we've started permitting drivers to lock, well, permitting teams to lock drivers in for next season. The following teams haven't locked any in yet, and that's Haas, Williams, McLaren, Mercedes. So yeah, at least one of their drivers are going next season, as other teams have locked in at least one driver, them being Sauber, Vika, Red Bull, Ferrari, and yeah, Alpine and Aston Martin. So yeah, do bear in mind there is going to be a very much new looking grid next season, and there's Lando Norris up into the lead on lap 3. Just as I brought up about start procedure, usually the lead does swap on lap 3, and it has done so, with Lando Norris promoting himself to the top step. As Théo Pourchaire has dropped off the podium, Oscar Piastri now adopts that third place in this race, as it is only going to get more competitive from here. Ferrari really do look lost at the moment. They've had about 3-4 pointless weekends since round 18, as Fernando Alonso has had a lock-up. That's why there was a yellow. He was just dropping down through the field, as that's not a good way to mark his penultimate race in F1, as both him and Perez have announced their retirement at the end of this season. Meaning that means at least two new names are going to enter the grid for next season. From what I believe, I think both Mercedes are getting dropped, both McLarens are getting dropped, so we're looking at 6 new names. I've heard talks around Pepe Marti possibly being linked up to Red Bull, but who knows, it can literally be anyone now who ends up going into the sport next season. It could be Takuma Sato, who's 50 now and just raced in the Indy 500 a weekend or so ago. He's on the playing cards for an F1 appearance, but who knows. As what we do know is Lando Norris leads to Bottas, then Piastri, with Porsche and Sainz just behind in 4th and 5th, with Charles Leclerc just out in the background in 6th. As both Saubers, they are looking half decent this weekend. They are attempting to fend off Aston Martin in this championship now. As it's currently Piastri versus Bottas versus Alonso for P6 in the drivers. Alonso not really catching much, so that is going to make it more Piastri versus Bottas, as Haas currently lie 18 points back, I believe it is, on Sauber. So if Verstappen and Hamilton can consistently score points in these final 2 races, I think they should be safe and able to occupy P4 in the constructors. For the TPs watching who are sceptical about how much income they will have next season, I can tell you VCarb is going to have 70 mil, and it works the way up to last place, and to last place having 100 mil in their back pocket. So it really does benefit the weaker sides, in the sense that they're able to bid a bit higher for this season. As I believe that is then going to be added on to the current team values, but I'm not 100% sure. That's to be determined before the window starts tonight. And this is the penultimate FMSL race you will be seeing on this channel. As of next season, it will go to Cryptic Commentates, which is my new commentary related channel. That's also where SRL will be moving to. It doesn't look like I will be doing the finale anymore this week, because I'm going to my brother's footballing award ceremony. Starts at 6:30. So it doesn't really look beneficial at all for my bid in commentating the SRL finale. I didn't do the finale last season either, so I'm still waiting on that, but I will come back, don't you worry. I will come back next season in SRL even stronger than I left it with the commentary. So the Brazilian GP last weekend was the last time I'll commentate SRL on this channel by the looks of it. So but anyways, Charles Leclerc mechanical fault, as there really isn't much going on around this circuit at the current moment, apart from Alonso having a hiccup and Sainz regaining P5 on Charles Leclerc, almost even going for a move onto Porsche who has started lagging behind a bit on Oscar Piastri. As, yeah, it's really died out at the front. Valtteri Bottas a good 4 seconds off Norris, as Piastri's a further 3 back. This is currently looking to be the most dominant drive we have had all season by a singular driver. Maybe the Chinese GP could level it based off how far ahead Norris was come the end, but nah, at the moment Norris really on a roll at this early stage. Terry Porsche Singapore also was fairly dominant. He pulled out a good 8-second gap on his teammate for a red flag, and then pulled it out again and won the race. So Porsche, the V-carbs, as a summary, just really strong here. But yeah, we can now at least say Porsche has creeped back into DRS range of Piastri, as Piastri, well, Porsche just missed out in the end, but Piastri is starting to catch Valtteri Bottas, so we may see a fight for second start to unravel here, as Sainz has dropped off from Teo and Hamilton has just overtaken Leclerc. So yeah, it is about to start heating up here in Qatar, as we wait and see on who pits first, because that could be crucial in determining the outcome of this race. If Porsche pits now, Norris in 4-5 laps time, who knows, Porsche could end up leading this race. But it currently looks like it's going to be a 1 stop, maybe 2, as into the pits is Lewis Hamilton, your first to do so. He's in from the softs. Where does he come out? He was about 11 seconds off the lead. He's going to come out just ahead of Alonso, who's 38 off. So you lose about 25 seconds. So for likes of Lando Norris in the lead, he wouldn't want to pit at all now, because he's going to come out right behind the Ricciardo, Tsunoda, Lawson group. And then after he's cleared them, they've got Perez and Russell, who are currently the constructors in second, but they've really dropped off. So yeah, so it should be an easy move for them. As you can see now, Hamilton going through the triple right, as he's overtaken Antonelli in a very classy move for the Brighton, that's a better way of saying it. As now he can hunt on, as you can see, Colapinto versus Albon over P16. Albon started from the pit lane here. He's doing a semi-decent recovery drive up through the field. He's picked up 4 places this race, however one of them was through Lewis Hamilton's stop. As you can see, Hamilton to the inside of Colapinto and into P17. Surely he's going to make it quick picking on Alex Albon. Yes, he will, before the triple right even starts. As Carlos Sainz now into the pits. Let's see how this turns out between Sainz and Hamilton. Into the box he goes, as Hadjar also enters the pits here. Hamilton going to be ahead, and Sainz is going to be about 4 seconds behind. So that, no, about 6 seconds behind. That just shows the power of the undercut here. As what we have missed is Piastri overtaking Valtteri Bottas for P2 here. As the Red Bull really looking racy once more. Antonelli mechanical fault here. So yeah, Leclerc now into the pit. So let's see whether or not this Red Bull can actually undercut in this race, as he's going to come out behind Lewis Hamilton. What about Carlos Sainz? It honestly does look a bit like Hamilton going to take the lead in this race if he goes a bit longer. Currently we've had, I believe it's 5 different constructors win, 7 different drivers. So it's been a very competitive first season of it, with 25 no, 24 races. If I'm right, we are dropping it down to 15 next season. Maybe 16. But yeah. Lewis Hamilton, he's currently in a land of his own really. He's got 7 seconds to Perez and Russell. He's 5 seconds ahead of Behrman behind. He's really just able to pace himself now, as he's currently sitting 26.5 off Lando Norris, 1.5 seconds, and he should surely be in the race lead here. But you can see the tyre percentages. Valtteri Bottas probably going to be pitting this lap. As you can see, the Haas now into the pit entry, as that is Bottas backing out of it, as Max Verstappen now into the pits here. Looks like Piastri and Russell could be pitting in a few laps time. As it's interesting to see how the medium runners are going to the softs, the soft runners are going to the mediums, apart from Hadjar, who's gone soft to hard in this race. It really does seem the two stops favourable. As Hamilton is now within a pit stop of Lando Norris. Piastri, only 3 seconds off Norris, has decided to pit to undercut. He's going out back on the softs. It's going to be a race to the line. Perez is going to jump Piastri. Hamilton's going to jump Piastri as well by 4 seconds here, meaning Lando Norris is going to be undercut here by Lewis Hamilton. Could that really mean Sauber goes for the race win here? Who knows, but it'd be great to see. Sauber really deserve it. They've been in numerous positions this season where they could have won, but then strategy or traffic or some external reason such as a DNF or red flag puts them out of it. As Lando Norris now enters the pits, Hamilton going to the inside of Perez, makes it the outside as he's going to overtake, as there's a Lando Norris there alongside into turn 1, but Norris just has to settle for second here. Lewis Hamilton has the upper hand here in Qatar today. What we saw earlier this season, Carlos Sainz win out in Jeddah. It was a shock win there. In Miami, Valtteri Bottas won for Haas. In Monaco, Alonso almost beat Porsche, but now you see Lando Norris overtaking Hamilton up into turn 1. There you go. As you see, same thing being done with Piastri and Bottas. Piastri attempting to make a move on the Haas driver, as the Haas is desperately attempting to claw himself into the fight for P6 as much as possible, as at the moment it really is just between them. And now Porsche pits. He's going to be swallowed up in this race now. As yeah, it's been, to say the least, a fairly interesting race, as Piastri and Bottas now catching Hamilton in an attempt to promote themselves into the top 2 here. Hamilton probably going to pit around lap 30ish to put on a set of hards and go to the end. I think that would be your best strat, as Porsche is on the hards. He could logically go to the end, so could Russell if they can manage tyres, and Alonso, as it's only 37 laps. It's doable, but is it favourable? Probably not. As you see here, Piastri versus Hamilton, Australian versus British driver, as the British win just like they did when it came to colonising the nation, but hey ho. But yeah, Lewis Hamilton up into P2 as he stays there a while longer, allowing Norris to pull further away, but there goes Piastri, second time, works a charm, as it is now the Red Bull up into P2 here, Sauber down in P3. As now Valtteri Bottas says he wants a turn. He did start better on the throttle, but Hamilton just more top speed into Sauber. As that puts him P3. As there's a yellow flag out on track, looks like it's Yuki Tsunoda, Leclerc mechanical fault. Yuki Tsunoda locking up into the final corner here. Let's have a look.
And there goes the steering.
As yeah, he just gets a bit hot-headed on brakes, goes wide, and that's him down a few places. As yeah, as the game's now just pointed out, Leclerc more severe mechanical fault. As Terry Pourchaire, he came out right in front of George Russell. He is now 3 seconds clear of Russell, overtaken Verstappen as well, and now on the back of Charles Leclerc. They're split by 1 point currently in the championship in the favour of the of the Frenchman. The Monegasque 1 point behind. This result would flip it back on its head, but at the pace Pourchaire's going to the inside, and yeah, easy picking, P6 for Pourchaire, as his race to try and put himself back into the fight for the win, or at least the podium, is on. He's 10 seconds behind Valtteri Bottas at the moment, as now he's going to be ready to try and pounce on Sainz, who locks up there. As you see, Sainz making a mistake in turn 7. Pourchaire didn't have to think about fighting much longer, as Sainz locks up again. Only 2 corners later, he's really got some gravel on his tyres. No, it wasn't a lock up, it was a spin. So he locked up turn 7. 3 corners later, he just drops the ball. It's really going wrong for the Williams now. As Hamilton 6.5 seconds ahead of Pourchaire. That's Pourchaire's next target. But is he going to get there before Hamilton pits? He's probably going to be in the next 3 laps or so. So if Pourchaire can catch by then, that would be great, as it does look very much like Hamilton is going to go to the hards and go to the end on him. As yellow flag out on track,
we've got a yellow
as
flag
it's Alex Albon who spin. As yeah, that is now Alex Albon into the pits, him basically putting himself out of this race for now, but he will probably come back a bit later on, maybe not at the same strength he was at previously. But yeah, it's really been a lackluster race for Alonso and Antonelli. They've just been off the pace. They're 12 well, Alonso's 12 seconds off Gasly, Antonelli is a minute off the lead, a further 4 off Alonso. As you can see now, Pourchaire lines up to the inside. Hamilton defends, but Pourchaire just more top speed. He's able to get himself back past and into P4 here. He's now 6 seconds off Valtteri Bottas in the Haas. As yeah, that is that conundrum sorted for now. Hamilton almost a whole pit stop back behind Lando Norris. He's 17 seconds now as Charles Leclerc is starting to catch the Sauber. As Hamilton decides it's time to pit, he is going to come out approximately P12. He did come out about 38 seconds behind Norris when he pitted first time round, and he's going to be going back out on a set of softs. Is it a free stop? It's a free stop for Hamilton. I don't know what he's thinking, because the hards can take you to the end here. As Alonso and Porsche currently managing the hards quite well. Alonso obviously doing better at it, and Colapinto now on fresh hards. He's going to try and go to the end in that McLaren. That's Carlos Sainz now into the pits here. Teo Porsche, however, has met Valtteri Bottas out on track. It's time to see whether or not the V-Carb can promote themselves into a podium position, as it's Valtteri Bottas currently defending against the V-Carb. Yeah, Porsche trying to look left, trying to look right. Bottas just defending very well so far. As, yeah, to the inside goes Porsche, and that's up into the lead. As you guys are lucky, I've made the decision just to let you have 2 races in one. We're going to get the season finale in the second half of this stream. So, while you watch Porsche catch, what's his name? Oscar Piastri, you are going to get the title updated. As if you are to refresh now, it should now officially say that it's round 23 and round 24 live. So yeah, Teo Porsche, DRS on Oscar Piastri. To the inside. What's up, Harry? Sorry I'm a bit late. Don't worry if you're late. Yeah, you've just came in time, because after this race we will have the season finale alongside with it, as Ricciardo gets mechanical fault. You may have not wanted to join now. But yeah, Ricciardo currently P9 in this race, however, still due to do one more stop, as it's currently a V-Carb 1-2. They've won both drivers and constructors out in Bahrain. They're just here to cement it even further. They could have mathematically DNF'd both this race and next race, and still won the title if Ferrari got a 1-2 in both. But yeah. As Antonelli, it's a mechanical fault of the highest degree. It is him out of the race now for the Haas. It's not a good way to possibly end his career prematurely. He is into the pits now as he pits for his retirement. Pit crew not out, he's going straight into his pit box, and that is Antonelli's race in the end. As Piastri has decided to pit. Well, what we've got unravelling now is Carlos Sainz versus Daniel Ricciardo. Never mind Ricciardo into the pits, probably knowing he can't keep up, as Piastri has came out P7 quite nicely right behind Lewis Hamilton. So Hamilton possibly back on the hunt. Why is Leclerc down in 15th? He literally pitted about 2 laps ago. So yeah, he is going to start working his way back up through the field when the others pit. You have Hajar, Tsunoda, Verstappen, Russell, Bottas, Porsche and Norris ahead who have not pitted. So that could be up to 7 places gained. However, he'll probably only gain how many? 1, 2, maybe 3 out of it. Yeah, probably 3 or 4 places out of it. If he can gain enough time. He's just overtaken Hajar in the process of me working that out for you. As we are about to enter the final 21 laps of this race, as Lando Norris decides to pit. Where is he going to come out in respect of the rest of the field? I believe he's going to be about 4 seconds-ish behind Valtteri Bottas. As he works his way down the remainder of the pit lane now, you can see there's Valtteri Bottas. He's going to be ahead, Norris just behind, not far off at all. A pit stop here ranges from about 21 to 25 seconds based off how quick your pit crew is. So yeah, and VCARB, currently one of the best pit crews on the grid. McLaren, however, have won the title in terms of fastest pit stops of the season. However, they are very much going to lose the constructors at this rate. They are gaining on Mercedes, but currently not quick enough is the best way to put it, as Valtteri Bottas now decides to pit in this race for probably his final time in this race, unless he goes on to the soft, which I think is delirium. Our pit crews all the same performance. That's one thing I can't actually change in the save, so it's really about the sporting director, and yeah, based off how the sporting director is appointed determines how strong your pit crew does, is the best way to put it. And McLaren clearly have a good sporting director, same as VCARB, and then Mercedes not as much. Because yeah, if we look at sporting directors, McLaren got Jonathan Wheatley and VCARB got Ron Meadows. They're two great directors, therefore they're doing really well in pit stops. And the Mercedes, which is slightly off, they're Gioverno, which is a great one, but then because their car's off pace, I don't know, honestly. It's just however the team's developed throughout the season. Maybe Gioverno's chosen not to focus on pit crew training as much, so that's why they're dropping off. But who knows really, it's so difficult to work out. But yeah, now Carlos Sainz attempting to overtake Max Verstappen. DRS in use, to the inside goes the Williams, and surely up into P5 now, but no, Max Verstappen holds off for a while longer. Currently Valtteri Bottas 25 off Porsche. If Porsche pits this a lap, it will be very nip and tuck between the two, as time is starting to run out for him in this race. Oscar Piastri catching Lewis Hamilton once again, who is 15 odd seconds off Lando Norris. So it does show Hamilton probably not going to win here. Lando Norris has just got this whole race in his back pocket at the moment. He's been so dominant all race along. But yeah. Anyways, Norris right behind Terry Porsche. How easy is it going to be for Norris to regain the lead? Porsche yet to pit. Norris has to pit. Porsche, based off his tyre percentage, he's probably going to chuck on a set of softs to the end. Lewis Hamilton making his third pit stop of the race. That just shows how they have got Ferrari strategists on their pit wall, as George Russell fastest lap. The Ferrari looking racy, however haven't really all season long. Or, well, they have been all season long, but they really haven't in the last few races, to say the least. As terrible share into the pits, Lando Norris gets to promote himself into the lead. Alex Albon also pitting. He is the first car to get lapped today in Qatar, as Hadjar, not too far up the road either, only about 3-ish seconds, as Porsche, he's came out the pits just in front of Carlos Sainz, which is really good placement for VCarb. Good he hasn't been held up, and now it allows him to push for these next 15 laps, maybe even nick the fastest lap point off of Carlos Sainz if they wish, as the Ferrari are starting to look a bit more like themselves. Even though they aren't fully there yet, they aren't like fastest cars on track or anything. They aren't 1-2 or 1-3 or whatever, but they are starting to lurk around the top 5 again in this race, as there is a yellow flag. It is Max Verstappen who's had a look up. No, it's a spin. Let's have a look at it.
Now let's
As
take a look
Bottas
here at
set
turn
fastest
10.
lap here.
Whoa,
Exact same
whoa,
thing
and
Carlos
around they
Sainz done,
spin.
just loses
And
back
what's-
end due to the tailwind. Hits the rear, he spins round as Valtteri Bottas, fastest man out on track now. He is catching Oscar Piastri, as this fight is between them for the drivers over P6. Currently, as things stand, it is advantage to Piastri, I believe. So yeah, I will be back in a minute. Oh yeah, I'm back. Just had to do some quick things around the house because my dad just got home. Same old, but yeah. We have about 5 laps left of this penultimate race. Lando Norris almost a whole pit stop advantage over his teammate here, as VCarb really showing dominance once again out in Qatar, as their closest rival is Red Bull, who's down in P3, and then Bottas 4th. But yeah, for the first time since Las Vegas, where Ferrari last scored points, they have both cars in the top 7, one of them even in the top 5, so it is really some progression for the Maranello based team. As well, we wait for laps to burn down. We have Behrman versus Ricciardo and Gasly in this race over P13. While we have Yuki and Lawson fighting over the last points playing position. Could be crucial in the championship between McLaren, Alpine and Mercedes, as entering the last race it was 18 points between them. It's about 16 or whatever, like 14-16 now entering this race. At the end of this race it could be 1 point closer if McLaren can come home P10. But now Ricciardo defends on Pierre Gasly. Gasly sits back in P15 while Behrman has overtaken Charles Leclerc. And Yuki has dropped the ball from Liam Lawson. On the penultimate lap here, Carlos Sainz currently with fastest lap. He started 7th, he's currently looking at 6th, which is 1 place improvement. To the inside on Hamilton he goes, moves to the outside, and it's up into 6th for the Williams. Carlos Sainz really on a roll here. It's a bit too late to go for George Russell however, but it's going to be 6th place, which is definitely a good result for the Williams team. As now Ricciardo trying to fight Leclerc into turn 1, just wasn't able to get enough traction to overtake. As same said about Colapinto on Pierre Gasly, just wasn't able to get the move done. As now it's been absolute dominance from this VCarb. He won the title out in Bahrain. He's going to win in Qatar to make it back-to-back race wins. As it's Lando Norris out of the final corner, he wins the not Bahrain, the Qatar Grand Prix, followed by Thierry Pourchaire, who is now entering the final corner of the race. Thierry Pourchaire makes it a VCarb 1-2 to celebrate constructors. It's their second 1-2 in a row now, as Oscar Piastri lines up on the podium in 3rd, with Bottas to come on 4th. George Russell, his best result since the Las Vegas, in 5th, and it's his first time in points in the last 3, apart from that Las Vegas 2nd place, as it's Hamilton's 7th, with Liam Lawson missing out on points here as Yuki Tsunoda takes it home. Mercedes, they're 1 step closer to overtaking Alpine now.
The RB team are
As
absolutely
you can
overjoyed, having
VCarb
sealed the
celebrating
constructors' title.
their
And what a
title.
truly dominant display we've seen.
As yeah, in Qatar, Lando Norris wins with Thierry Pourchaire lining up 2nd, Piastri 3rd, Bottas 4th, Russell in 5th, with Carlos Sainz 6th, Hamilton 7th, Perez 8th, Verstappen 9th, Tsunoda 10th, Lawson 11th, Behrman 12th, Ricciardo 13th, with Leclerc in 14th, Pierre Gasly 15th, Colapinto 16th, Albon 17th, Hadjar 18th, Alonso 19th, and Antonelli DNFing, with Carlos Sainz being your fastest lap man with a 1:24.3. Anyways, let's just quickly progress through this because they aren't actually the standings in the save. So yeah, let's progress to Abu Dhabi. So yeah, let's now progress to your season finale. It's Abu Dhabi here today. Well, it was also Qatar. So yeah, do not miss out. As let's quickly do race targets. Best way to get a bit of income in this save, where I think income's the only way we'll be able to survive and actually do a season 2 on this same save, but plan is to revert to a new save next season and update driver ratings so they're more accurate. But anyways, it is time. FP1. Let's simulate 2 quali so you just get all the practice results.
We're moving on now.
As just a little rundown of your practice results, FP1 Lando Norris topped it, FP2 Bottas, and then FP3 Oscar Piastri. So let's now go into quali here today. So yeah, with the final 5 minutes of the session, we have Porsche, Colapinto, Piastri and Gasly in your current knockout zone for Q1. However, Porsche has pushed himself to the top of the table, as Piastri's bumped himself up there as well.
There's a yellow flag now.
As Oliver Behrman's crashed, that's his session over and done with. As it's going to be Charles Leclerc who's not going to make it into the second session here, which is a very, very big statement to make, because Porsche is safely going to get P3 now, unless Leclerc can do like a last to first. But your grid here today: Lando Norris pole with Valtteri Bottas second, Porsche third, George Russell in fourth, Lewis Hamilton fifth, Oscar Piastri sixth, Carlos Sainz lines up 7th with Tsunoda in 8th, Sergio Perez to start 9th and Alex Albon 10th, Verstappen 11th, Alonso 12th, Ricciardo 13th, Lawson 14th with Colapinto 15th, Gasly 16th, Antonelli 17th, Behrman 18th, Leclerc 19th, and for the final time this season, Isaac Hadjar lines up 20th. So yeah, let's now approach the season finale.
Well, it's great to have you with us, folks. Anything could happen. It's the Abu Dhabi Grand Prix.
This campaign has been full of numerous ups and downs for every driver, but this settles it all. As let's quickly retire the cars. And now we can say it's lights out and away we go in Abu Dhabi for the final time in season 1. Lando Norris gets off to a great start. He's looking like he's going to go for 3 back-to-back wins here in Abu Dhabi. to really end off an amazing season for the VCARB drivers. There's Porsche versus George Russell. Russell second in the drivers as a result of Lando's dominant past few races. He's won every race since Las Vegas, and currently looks like he is not going to slow down here today. As actually, if I'll be honest, I think he even won in Brazil, which can make an even bigger statement. As let's just check it. Yeah, Lando Norris has won every single race since Brazil, apart from Saudi Arabia, where Carlos Sainz took the win there. But Norris has been on the podium in every race since America. That just shows how much stronger he's been than George Russell. George Russell has only had 2 podiums since the American GP, where he won. But now Russell drops to 6th, Sainz up to 5th, Hamilton in 4th, Sauber looking like, well, Sauber hoping for a good result to end this season off, as they are parting ways with, at the moment, looks to be Lewis Hamilton, as there's Porsche promoting himself into the race lead. As this season it's a farewell drive for Alonso and Perez. They're currently 8th and 13th here, as it would be nice to see them both get some points here in their final drive in this sim league. But yeah, we just wait. As Russell plummeting through the field, he started in the top 5, he's down in 9th now, just showing how poorly the Ferrari is at the moment, just how off pace they have been. It's been heartbreaking for the Ferrari team principals. Of the season there were 2, as one got demoted midway through season and another one stepped in. But the team principal who started, they started so strong in the season, they've signed great drivers, great staff, and it's really let them down in the final 5 or so races of the season. Mexico is the last time they won here, and it was Sergio Perez who took the top step there, and then after Mexico he announced his retirement, and their form's really just plummeted since then. But yeah, it's been a fairly dominant set of races since Mexico. Every race since Brazil, actually. So when I say that, I mean from Las Vegas to now. It's been a double podium for the VCARB duo, and they're currently on for it again here today, as it's Norris versus Porsche for the lead here, as it's sunset in Abu Dhabi. But yeah, it is a very big statement for VCARB to even say in the finale, where it's been so close all season, they're going through it in a double podium formation. They've just had so much power in the last few races, to say the least. As now Porsche tried to overtake Norris there, but Norris hangs on. They're going to work their way through the final sector, but neither car aiming to attack one another. But now Porsche will get DRS here on Lando Norris. He's going to use it to his advantage. He's going to gain. He pulls to the inside. Surely it's Porsche into the lead. Yes, it will be. But they will fight through the chicane. Lando Norris just sits, I think, ever so slightly further back. Yes, he does. He then gets DRS and he stays as your lead driver in the VCARB pairing. As we can see, 4th down to 7th. Piastri, Hamilton, Perez and Sainz And then even Valtteri Bottas is in this group, as they will fight over third place here, while the two V-Carbs go like mad over over who ends off the season as the race winner. V-Carbs brought up earlier this season, they weren't happy with Porsche, but Porsche has gone on and won numerous races for them. He's currently one of their strongest drivers. I'll be honest, Lando Norris is still the strongest, but Porsche definitely sitting there second best. And he's probably the second best driver on the grid at the moment, as he has had a very, very amazing run of form. He's been on the podium 4 times in the last 6 races, like main races. He went for a stage where he almost won about 4 races back to back in his defence. He's won in some of the most difficult places on the calendar, Monaco and Singapore. So yeah, he is showing maturity, as you can see now. Two very old-fashioned drivers, Hamilton and Carlos Sainz, duelling over what is P5 here, as they've dropped off from the fight for third. As just like in Qatar, it's Oscar Piastri versus Valtteri Bottas for the third place. Honestly, Oscar Piastri really has outshone his teammate Charles Leclerc in the last few races, as it's Oscar Piastri versus Bottas we are getting a replay of, as they make a bit of contact there, and that looks like it's gave Oscar damage. Will that mean the Red Bull pits early? If so, maybe a 2 or 3 stop is due. If he powers on, surely it's smooth sailing. No penalties provided for that clash between the Haas and the Red Bull. As yeah, we can officially say we are approximately a 5th of the way through the season finale here, as the 2 RBs duel over the lead here. Piastri and Bottas duel over the final spot on the podium. If Oscar gets it in this race, it will be 3 podiums in a row for Red Bull. They finished 3rd in Bahrain, finished 3rd in Qatar. If they finish 3rd here, it's going to be an amazing way to round off season, as Perez hit with a mechanical fault. Sergio may have to start nursing that Ferrari a bit more in this race, and that may see him plummet down through the field in his final drive for the team. As we have got our first car in the pits this race, it's Pierre Gasly. But yeah, Piastri, he's starting to pull away from Valtteri Bottas. It's ever so slightly, but it's enough to help him defend through the double DRS zone in the middle sector, which they are now entering. As yeah, there goes Piastri, being overtaken by Bottas. He's going to get DRS here, however, as there's a yellow flag for Colapinto spinning in turn 5. He is back underway, however, so that's been swiftly resolved. As yeah, Bottas seems to have effortlessly pulled himself out of the DRS range, as Hamilton now decides it's the right time to pit in this exactly. As you can see, George Russell making some work out of Yuki Tsunoda. But yeah, this really is just showing how off the pace Russell has been in the sense of that Ferrari. Last win he took was in America. Sergio Perez picked up a win more recently than that in Mexico, which is literally the race afterwards. But then Russell more recently took a podium out in Las Vegas. He hasn't been able to do so since. And yeah, as it really does seem like the pit window has become lively, as it's now Yuki Tsunoda versus Daniel Ricciardo. If Tsunoda and Gasly outscore Alpine by 9 points here today, they will come home P8 in the Constructors. I know it's not much, but it's beneficial for the Mercedes. But yeah, I just don't know what to commentate more than anything, because everyone's starting to split apart here. You've got Porsche versus Lawson, but Porsche has just pitted, so he's pulled ahead. And it should safely be ahead of Norris, as he's limping down the pit lane now. Ricciardo's triggering an undercut on Yuki Tsunoda. As now Porsche races Norris out the pit lane. He is going to be behind, however, Carlos Sainz, fastest a lap for the Williams. Spaniard versus Spaniard. Sainz making an easy move on Alonso. It's the wily old fox's last race, and he's even being overtaken by Hamilton now. As it's been a lengthy career for Alonso. If I'm right, this is his 22nd season in the sport. And yeah, it's coming to an end. As yeah, Verstappen, Perez and Tsunoda now pit. So does Alonso. Alonso making one of his final pit stops in his F1 career. That's just how sentimental it is. So is Sergio Perez at the moment. And Perez has came out just ahead of Max Verstappen, just like how they entered the pits. But Verstappen, DRS, and he's up into P9. That's a very, very easy move done for the Sauber. Lewis Hamilton and Carlos Sainz, however, now on the back of the Kiwi of Liam Lawson. The McLaren trying to drive for his career at the moment, so is the Argentine. But the McLaren of Lawson really does seem like it's going to be a premature end to his career, or at least for now, as we've got numerous F2 names lined up in this sport. As Hamilton overtakes Lawson, how easy is Lawson going to make it for Carlos Sainz? Sainz to the inside, as that is P6 for the Williams now. I'll be honest, if Lawson gets another season, credit to him, but I don't see one. I don't see a drive next season. I just think this season hasn't been the best, but then the car hasn't been the best either. As you can see, they are currently last in the Constructors. So yeah, it's really just not been a season to remember for Liam Lawson. So let's have a look at Daniel Ricciardo pulling to the inside on Yuki Tsunoda. Surely it's P10. Yes, it is P10. As Yuki now trying to fight back. He does so. He is up into 10th there. As Piastri now sitting quite nicely behind Daniel Ricciardo. As Piastri just waiting to watch who's gonna crack first between the two. Maybe Piastri, if he's quick enough, could get past them both here. As we are almost at the halfway stage of this finale. We're about 7 laps off from it, as there's Ricciardo to the inside of Tsunoda. Tsunoda drops down into P10, as there is Verstappen versus Perez. Having a little duel there, but we will tune back in with the Mercedes, Alpine and Red Bull. As Piastri, he was fighting for a podium when he pitted. He's now fighting for the very last set of points. As George Russell is also yet to pit. He's probably going to come out behind Piastri as well. But now Piastri, he's got DRS on Ricciardo, who goes to the inside of Yuki. And that's surely Ricciardo back up, but no, Yuki just better traction, then Ricciardo able to use DRS to overtake. And Piastri gets the move done as well. This is a great opportunity for Piastri to start working his way back up through the order now, because he is a good 22 seconds off Valtteri Bottas, who was the car he was fighting when the pit phase opened and when Bottas pitted. He's now really off it now. As we wait, to the inside goes Piastri, up into P9 he goes. As I'll be honest, it's looking like a one-stop here for George Russell in this finale. He's trying to go out with a bang, and as a result, gambling with strategy, Ricciardo fighting back against Piastri to the inside, Ricciardo up into P9. As Ricciardo's seat is confirmed for next season to stay at Alpine, while Hadjar, his career is over and done with for now. As Daniel Ricciardo, currently 9th, Oscar Piastri tucked up just behind, look to the inside. He looks again to the inside as he overtakes Daniel Ricciardo here, but Ricciardo's going to fight back. Ricciardo now DRS on Oscar Piastri. Piastri covers off. Ricciardo can't look to the inside and he has to wait, but there's Yuki Tsunoda. Yuki Tsunoda now trying to overtake Ricciardo. Ricciardo desperately trying to hang on, but he's behind the Mercedes as well as George Russell into the pits. That's a set of hards going on, as there's a pit stop issue for George Russell. It's a slow stop indeed, and probably going to come out just behind Fernando Alonso and also Liam Lawson here, as he comes out just ahead of Andrea Kimi Antonelli. But Antonelli raring to go, as he's already overtaken the Ferrari of George Russell. And now Alex Albon just behind, looking like he wanted to maybe make a move up into P15, but just a bit too far off. As Ricciardo has dropped off from this fight over 8, as it's Yuki versus Piastri now for that 8th position. It's 4 points on cards. As things stand, Mercedes are still going to come home 9th in the Constructors. Mercedes are going to come home in 9th, Alpine 8th, with McLaren in last. It's just been a horrible season for the McLaren side. Just really haven't shown much pace out of it. As yeah, it's now Oscar Piastri desperately trying to find a way past Yuki Tsunoda, but Yuki just not really having to defend, as Max Verstappen, he's within DRS range of Sergio Perez. Has Sergio Perez still got it? It's his final race in F1 for the foreseeable future. He's announced his retirement, and there goes Verstappen. Verstappen tried overtaking into the chicane. Wasn't able to. He's going to try again, however, into the next corner. Again, just too far back to do so. Sergio Perez hangs on to P6 as they now just creep within DRS range of Carlos Sainz. Carlos Sainz officially P5, with Perez and Verstappen starting to pile the pressure on to the Williams. Verstappen maybe not as much, however, but Perez almost definitely is. To the inside goes the Ferrari. He's really doing everything he can for the team at the moment, and that's P5 for the team. Like, they lost the constructors the last time out, did Ferrari. So they are just racing for their championship. Russell, he lost the drivers the last time out. He's P2 guaranteed on the outcome, if I'm right. And then Perez, he's basically guaranteed to get P5. So yeah, they're just racing to end this season more than anything. But now Sergio Perez, DRS on Carlos Sainz, up into the final sector they go. To the inside goes Perez, and that is P5 for the Ferrari boy. It's almost every driver's dream to drive for a team like Ferrari. Perez achieved it this season. Hamilton waiting for that call still. Him being in P4, obviously in real life he's at Ferrari, but in this he's never drove for Ferrari. But now Perez, he's going to drag himself along behind Sainz. Sainz is DRS, that's why he's pulling away slightly. But Perez is going to get it into this next DRS zone. Verstappen has thoroughly dropped off from Sergio Perez and Sainz. So it does look like that fight for Verstappen for 5th is out the window, as they are starting to catch up with Lewis Hamilton here. Carlos Sainz almost in DRS range, meaning the top 6 are still in chance for podium, because Bottas is only 2 seconds ahead of Lewis Hamilton, who has Sainz just a second behind and Perez a further second behind. As there's Sainz to the inside on Hamilton, up into P4 he goes. However, is he going to keep it? Hamilton gets some DRS back. You can see the Williams just so strong in a straight line, just able to pull away here and not have to worry as much about the Sauber behind them. It's definitely going to be interesting to see how Williams approach next season. They're ending this season with a win in the bag in Saudi Arabia, which was only 3 races ago now. And they're looking to also end it with a podium. They are really looking like an exciting prospect for next season. Up into P3 goes Carlos Sainz, as that is the Williams onto the podium, making very quick moves out of it. Valtteri Bottas going to try and fight back, isn't able to. But yeah, Valtteri Bottas into the pits here today. Perez probably during a few laps, so is most of the cars in the race. Maybe not George Russell. He's currently looking decent on them hards. Only worn out 20% in the first 10 laps or whatever. He can almost definitely go to the end on them. And Bottas has decided hards as his preferred tyre choice. Ricciardo fighting Ricciardo now. Ricciardo fighting Ricciardo, Ricciardo fighting Leclerc. To the inside goes Ricciardo, and up into P9 does go the Alpine, as Pierre Gasly, mechanical fault. What a way to end the season finale for Mercedes. They need 8 points on Alpine. Well, need to outscore them by 8 points in order to come home P8 and Gasly is not going to award him with any. He hasn't scored a point in a fair while. The Mercedes just not really having much luck in it. But Gasly still powering on. He wants to try and go to the end here because it's season finale. But it's gonna look almost terminal. He's trying to fight Antonelli off, but look at how much more traction Antonelli gets. Just to look at how far away he's pulling in a straight line as mechanical fault gets upgraded for Perez into the first tier. Yellow flag for, I believe, someone locking up. I can't tell who. It was Terry Porsche. As now Gasly dropping like a fly here. I'm pretty sure that concludes a very horrific season, but Gasly still powering round. I'm surprised he hasn't decided to DNF yet. While Perez a second off Lewis Hamilton here. Can the Ferrari work his way into the podium? Terry Porsche decides to pit. And so does Hamilton and Perez. This is almost definitely Perez's last stop of his F1 career. It's onto the hards, but it's a slow stop. What a horrific way to remember his final F1 pit stop. As it's a pit stop issue, it's going to put him about 5-6 seconds off Hamilton, who's already a good 10 seconds off Valtteri Bottas. He's 7 seconds off Hamilton now, and that is just not the way you want to go out on your final F1 race as Pierre Gasly. He continues on, he's just taken a pit stop. The Mercedes very much not willing to give up this race, even though he is almost definitely the last car on track. As there's a VSC, it's Charles Leclerc who has crashed, but it's upgraded to a full core safety car. Great time for pit stop. Sergio Perez, wrong placement. Sergio Perez, wrong placement. As it is Charles Leclerc who spins under the bridge, hits the wall, and rejoins onto the circuit. As that is Leclerc's season concluded for the Red Bull. What a nasty way to go out as Norris pits. Verstappen, however, that puts him into second. Yuki Tsunoda is, probably fourth or whatever, but Yuki Tsunoda gets a cheap stop, so does Verstappen. Amazing opportunities to work their way up in the pecking order a bit. As out of the pits goes Yuki Tsunoda. He is going to be, I believe, just behind Lewis Hamilton, just ahead of Piastri, but on brand new tyres. It's a great time to be a Mercedes fan, because the Mercedes can definitely work their way up through the field. Gonna have better tyre life than George Russell in P5. Going to have better tyre life than Sainz and Bottas, who are on slightly older hards. Good chance to get into the top 6 like they wish. But quite a few cars on softs or mediums that are brand spanking new, so we will definitely see a challenge over the next few laps, or at least for the rest of the race, as we'd all hope. Because yeah, they just continue under the safety car. But yeah, safety car still going round, what we will do to save your times is speed it up a bit, just so then we can go back to racing. Safety car in this lap. Currently, Lando Norris leads the restart with PA Gasly a good lap and a half or whatever down, as safety car is ending. Lando Norris will restart the grid for one final time as Porsche has gone wide, and that's him plummeting down the order, as that is a horrific start, as that's another place for the Mercedes. Don't you forget, they need to outscore the Alpine by 8 points. Well, I think it's 9 points to be safe, because Alpine, if they get outscored by 8 points, they'll still get 8 on countback. So Mercedes need an extra place in this race, as Lando Norris has pulled away with ease. Bottas has Carlos Sainz to fend off here in P3, as Pierre Gasly's let everyone lap him and he's still dropping out of frame, as currently Valtteri Bottas has Carlos Sainz for company. George Russell could still end up on the podium here in the final race of this season. He has confirmed a new contract at Ferrari, just like Norris says at VCarb, as there's Hamilton promoting himself up into 4th. Verstappen and Yuki up into 6th now. Amazing opportunity for Mercedes now, but Ricciardo has promoted himself into 9th. As long as Ricciardo's putting the pressure on by working his way up through the field, Yuki has to work his way up still. As there's a yellow flag, it is Terry Porsche by the looks of it, as he has a clash with Isaac Kajar, who goes round the outside, gets a little bit of a squeeze, punts off Terry Porsche wide. As I personally don't think that would be a penalty, but who knows. As we are working our way back up to the first DRS zone of the lap, we have Carlos Sainz going to the inside on Valtteri Bottas and up into P2 here. There's a chance that Carlos Sainz could win the season finale and start the season start up very nicely for next season. As now Yuki just has to try and catch George Russell if he wants to put the Alpine under massive danger. As the moment Yuki comes home P5, Ricciardo has to be in the top 9 to cancel it out. As long as he finishes P8, if he doesn't get fastest lap, it's not a problem, but he's up into P5 now. Daniel Ricciardo needs to find another place in this race if he wants to save Alpine in this championship. Yuki absolute being a hero for the Mercedes team, as there's Bottas to the inside of Carlos Sainz. Hamilton even going to follow through. Hamilton started this season with a podium in Australia. Could he end it here in Abu Dhabi with a podium with 15 laps to go? Lando Norris starting the 14th laps to go. So we are really working our way quite nicely up to the end of this race. Lewis Hamilton looking for a podium just the same way he started this season off, as the Sauber really showing he is still very much in his zone, as Tsunoda up into 4th. Could Mercedes make it a podium as well, maybe? As Sauber has promoted up into 2nd here. Lewis Hamilton 2nd. Can he catch Lando Norris is the main question. That is what we are waiting to answer more than anything, as Russell is plummeting down through the field once again. He's down in P9. He started this restart in P4, just showing how sour it's gone so far. Daniel Ricciardo may like to overtake George Russell here and put the Alpine up into P9, as Ricciardo looking round isn't able to. He's going to get DRS on George Russell. To the inside he goes, and up into P9 he goes. Alonso going to follow through on the Ferrari, but George Russell going to try and get better traction on the exit. They're both going to get DRS, and it's going to be a slip drag race As there's a yellow flag,
what's happened
it's
there.
for a crash involving multiple cars. We will have a look. It's Alexander Albon, who I don't know what happened, but I believe he made contact with Andrea Kimi Antonelli just behind him, and that's what happened. As Daniel Ricciardo, in order to cancel out the work Yuki's done, he needs to overtake Sergio Perez here. Yeah, it's an incident between Albon and Antonelli. That's why Albon was grunting and moaning in that radio message. As you can see, Piastri overtaking Yuki Tsunoda. Not what Mercedes want now, as Ricciardo needs to try and hunt down the car ahead. As there's Alonso overtaking, while Yuki regains P4. Ricciardo back to the inside on Alonso and up into P9. They are going to continue this fight through the next few corners, however. Alonso to the inside, and it's going to be P9 for the Aston Martin. It's his final race. He's driving like he's just started, however. But all good things must come to an end, and this is a great thing for Aston Martin, which is unfortunately coming to an end before they can really start their project up. As Antonelli in the pits here. Liam Lawson has just overtaken Daniel Ricciardo, which really helps out the Mercedes team, as Ricciardo is now out of points, but he's going to try and fight back against Lawson. He goes back up into P10 here, as chances are still alive for Alpine. However, they are deteriorating as the McLaren are becoming more and more prevalent. But Lawson, he's got lower tyre wear. He's probably going to challenge, not a good word, nor is threaten. Struggle is a very good word though. Liam Lawson going to struggle a lot more when approaching the end, but he is pushing. I think everyone is, however, as Alonso getting ready to overtake Fernando Alonso here. Alonso ready to overtake Alonso. Alonso ready to overtake Sainz. My bad. I'll be back in a moment, however. I am back, just in time for the final few laps, as there's Yuki dropping down into P6, Daniel Ricciardo in P10, so it looks very improbable that Mercedes get it here. They're still going to push regardless, as it's going to come down to the wire in this championship. Is it going to be Yuki Tsunoda lifting Mercedes up to 8th? Or is it going to be Daniel Ricciardo keeping Alpine in 8th. For the TPs, Alpine are hoping Mercedes overtake, because the higher up, the less prize money, just to try and level out the field a bit. As you can see, Hamilton versus Piastri, Bottas versus Perez and Yuki. Yuki to the inside of Perez, but Perez just better traction on the exit. As Fernando Alonso now overtaking Yuki. Yuki down into P7, as there's a yellow flag briefly for Carlos Sainz, who's locked up, and thus given Daniel Ricciardo P9. As a result, Yuki needs a top 4 in order to win the next place up for Mercedes. Liam Lawson, fastest lap of the race in the McLaren. There goes Perez to the inside of both Alonso and Bottas, and into P4, which could be a very good way to end off his career. As now Bottas to the inside, trying to fight back, isn't able to move himself up into P5, but instead drops to P7 as Alonso and Verstappen makes quick work of him, as it's almost guaranteeing Sauber to come home in P3 in this championship. No, not P3, P4. As Sauber having a very cyclical narrative in this season, as Yuki plummeting down through the field once again is not what they'd hope, as there's another yellow for Alexander Albon, who had a lock-up. Williams just really struggling at the moment more than anything. Yuki out of DRS range in this big fight, which I want to say is 3rd to 8th, as Hamilton just in touching distance for Perez with 3 laps to go here. Lando Norris 9 seconds clear of Piastri. Porsche trying to work his way back into the points here, as he is in P10. Daniel Ricciardo is going to be under threat come the final lap by the looks of it, as there's Perez to the inside of Hamilton, and that is the Sauber off the podium here. Could have been a very cyclical narrative for Hamilton if he started the season on a podium and ended it on a podium, but Sergio Perez, it's going to be a very, very big statement to end his career on a high like this, getting a podium and showing Ferrari that he's still got it even though he is retiring. They've gone through some very rocky turmoil over the last few races, scoring points in only 2 of the last 4 races. So, no, only scoring twice in 5 races actually. As there's Hamilton and Verstappen dueling into the chicane. Alonso going to try and fight back, however. Alonso not getting enough traction, but DRS powers him through. As Tsunoda up into 4th, as he's made 3 overtakes into 1 corner. Daniel Ricciardo P10 though. As we start the final lap here, Lando Norris is first, 13 seconds ahead. As Yuki Tsunoda currently lined up in 4th. As things stand, Mercedes are going to come home 8th in the standings. Alpine are going to come home 9th. As there's Yuki trying to promote the Mercedes onto the podium, overtakes Perez, but Perez and Alonso are both going to get DRS now on Yuki Tsunoda. Could this drop him off the podium? No, Yuki hangs on as Lando Norris rounds off the final corner to make it another win for VCARB, and he's won the title. It's a great way to go out this season with Piastri 2nd. Yuki Tsunoda lifts Mercedes up into 8th with 3rd. Daniel Ricciardo only 10th. So that is disappointing. Russell ends the season 11th. Perez missed out on a podium in his final race. Alonso top 5 in his final race. So they're good ways to go out. While Albon has a puncture heading up to the line as Gasly unlaps himself from the last car and comes home 19th. But yeah, for those who have all enjoyed this season, thank you for tuning in with me.
Sometimes
but
I think
yeah,
you just have to.
It's been an amazing season in general. Lando Norris 1st, Piastri 2nd, Tsunoda 3rd, Perez 4th, Alonso 5th, Verstappen 6th, Hamilton 7th, Bottas 8th, Porsche 9th, Ricciardo 10th, Russell 11th, Sainz 12th, 13th Lawson, 14th Colapinto, 15th Behrman, 16th Antonelli, 17th Hadjar, 18th Albon, 19th Gasly, and last is Charles Leclerc. Liam Lawson, fastest lap. But for those who have enjoyed this season, subscribe for more, and I'll see you all next season on Cryptic Commentates. Goodbye.